Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. I'm hiding in the polytunnel today. It's a foul day, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk through some Christmas gift ideas. I've been making a little list recently of some of my favourite things that I use in the garden and a few things that I want for Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas by giving gifts, hopefully this will give you a little bit of inspiration. Now, part one is going to be the stocking fillers. I should say as well, all the links for everything I'm talking about today are in the description. 95% are ones that I've used before. If I've never used it before, I'll put a little asterisk and kind of specify that I think this is a good idea, but I've not used it before, so I can't account for the kind of quality. Now, the stocking fillers, these are all things that, you know, if you're a gardener and you've already got it, it doesn't matter if you get another one because it's still going to come in handy. I've found, you know, after years and years of trying to buy my dad gifts, it's elderly gentlemen, isn't it? It's men past a certain age that are the most difficult to buy for, in my opinion. So these are hopefully going to be some good ideas. And the first one is a very specific jute twine. I am telling you, this is the good stuff. I used this for the first time this year, Ancio 6 ply, and it's something like £6 for 2 rolls. And this stuff is really, really good. It lasted all season outdoors on things like my cucumbers and my peas. I was really a bit nervous. It's jute, so it's fully biodegradable, and I just cannot get enough of this stuff. It's so good that I've actually been saving it. A lot of this is stuff that I've used last year that I've wrapped up again. It's such a good stocking filler. Number 2. Seeds, and more seeds. Ask any gardener and they will tell you you can't really have too many seeds. Grown Local have a brilliant 15% off sale on their seeds at the moment. Discount code in the description. Grown Local are a fantastic new, very small seed selling company, and they have some really interesting varieties. But not only that, bargain prices. Absolutely fantastic store. Do go and check it out. Number 3, don't be confused. Oh no! This has been in storage, so it's a little bit gross. This is not a bottle of Coca-Cola. This is seaweed fertilizer. And for a gift, you don't really want it to be in a bottle like this. But I think fertilizers are another great little stocking filler. And if you're not sure exactly what kind of fertilizer you think your gardening friend or family might enjoy, I would recommend seaweed fertilizer. I'll put a link for Shropshire seaweed, which is kind of really well reviewed and regarded as one of the best seaweed fertilizers on the market. But seaweed fertilizer in particular is so balanced. It's basically fantastic for most things, you know. So if you get someone some seaweed fertilizer, it's gonna be appreciated. For number 4, we have this fantastic little tool. In all my years of gardening, I think this is one of the best things I've ever bought. And all it is a pocket-sized sharpener. And it's just fantastic. It's really strong, really durable, and really portable. It's only about 12 or 13 pounds. It's perfect for gardening tools like loppers and secateurs. I use this probably not as much as I should, but when I do use it, I'm always impressed. It's kind of still kept its edge years later. Absolute bargain, and one of those things, like I say, that you can't really have too many of. It's great to have a couple of these lying around, maybe one for the kitchen, one for the shed, that kind of thing. Number 5 is a little bit out there, but bear with me, okay? This one is a recommendation from one of my friends who makes gardener's hand butter. So Jade Grows Veg on Instagram makes this really luxurious hand cream designed especially for gardeners. When you've been out digging around in the dirt, you've got your gloves on, your hands are all dry, they're all gross, you gotta go home, give them a proper good scrub, you know, get all the dirt off. And usually you got to use some quite strong soap, and this gardener's hand butter, using it after that just feels so great. It's not just for ladies. If you want to keep your hands in good nick, stop them from going dry and cracking, it is fantastic stuff. The next one is one that I wish I had an infinite supply of. It's one of those things that kind of, it just goes missing a lot, you know, you don't know where they all go, and that is Kilner jars. So either the ones that are just the flip top for storage, for things like beans, fermenting, sauces, that kind of thing, or the actual, you know, you know what I mean? The jam jars, that kind of thing. Like, you just can never have too many of them. Those wide open jam jars are fantastic. And one of the other like fantastic gifts you can give, of course, if you're an allotmenter or a gardener and you're making your own homemade produce, is those little jars full of, you know, delicious homemade jams or chutneys. So you're always asking people to give them, give me back the jars, please. And they don't always come. So if you're trying to look for Christmas presents for someone who does make a lot of their own produce, Kilner jars, absolute way to go, just fantastic. Next one, and this is a very popular gift idea, and that is seed boxes. Now, when you're buying a gift for someone, quite often the kind of seed box that people go for is one of those tiny, thin wooden ones. Maybe it's got a pretty engraving on the top and a little clip. And they are nice to have. But what you really want, if you're an allotmenter, if you garden in bulk and do a lot of veg, you want metal things that can be stored. And these are rodent proof. That's the kind of key. If you've got things like peas or beans, they're like magnets for little mice that are going to want to get in. So just a few of these, you can never have too many. And if you don't need it for seeds, then you'll find another use for it in the shed, 100%. Next recommendation, and that is gloves. Now, these gloves were sent to me about a year ago by a company called Cool Job. And I didn't want to give them any press or kind of coverage until I'd given them a chance and really, spent a lot of time. I've had these for a good season now, and they're still pretty much brand new. Now, these ones in particular are the ones that I recommend. I'll link them down below. And the reason I recommend them is because, to quote Ned Flanders, they're like wearing nothing at all. They give you like full range of motion. You can still use everything. I'm looking for some tools. Even the slightly fiddly things like these side cutters, they're never going to get in the way, which is just fantastic. And they're just really, really hard wearing. They've lasted me a long time. Good for digging around in the soil, all that kind of stuff. So gloves, once again, you can never have too many gloves as a gardener, can you? So that was part one. They were my slightly boring recommendations, to be honest. They will be appreciated though. That's the thing. If you've got someone that you're thinks is a little bit tricky to buy for, maybe you've got a Secret Santa with a limit of like 10, 15 pounds. They're all going to go down well, I'm telling you. But now, part two, we're moving on to the more sort of medium things. Getting a little bit more pricey, kind of 30 to 60 pounds, that kind of price point, And the first one is something that I've just started to have play with, and I absolutely love this. This is a little trail cam. So you set it up, you switch it on, you leave it overnight. It's got pretty good night vision, pretty good quality. It comes with all the stuff you need as well, all the batteries, a little SD card. I've been really, really impressed with this little unit. Unfortunately, I've had to use it to surveil my plot for foxes, which are damaging my tunnel, but it's fantastic for if you've got like a pond, you want to see some pond wildlife in the day or the night, or you're just interested to see maybe what's coming along at your garden and having a little dig, or what's been eating your crops, that kind of thing. It's just a really, really nifty little bit of kit, and for around 40 quid, I've been really, really impressed with this. Next up, if you know someone with a greenhouse, worth having a little check, have a little look and see whether or not they've got automatic vent openers, because they are just one of the best improvements you can make to a greenhouse. It's good even if you have one in the back garden. So they're fantastic if you have an allotment and you can't get to your greenhouse all the time. But even if you've got a back garden and you're going away for the weekend, or maybe you have a lion, it can be really crucial, just especially early spring when the greenhouse can heat up and start cooking things. It can get to kind of 40 degrees Celsius in summer, very, very early in the morning. Auto vents, automatic vent openers, automatic window openers, absolutely fantastic. And the common one is the window opener, but also worth having a look. See if you've got louvre vents, which are the kind of slatted windows that go up and down, and you can get an automatic louvre opener as well. One of the best ones, I've used a few, and the Baylis window openers are fantastic. They are the best, and I really do recommend them. Next one, and this one is a bit of a hint, thermos flask. This one is the best I've got at the moment because I broke my cheap thermos the other day, and I've been going through winter without my cups of tea or coffee on the plot. And you watch any YouTube video and it'll have a gardener, singing the praises of sitting with a cup of tea, a hot drink on your allotment. You can't beat it. So keep thermoses in mind. I've linked the Stanley one in the description because that is meant to be absolute premium quality, and you can actually drop it. It might have a few little bumps and it's probably going to survive, unlike my one, which immediately broke. Number 12. Kneeling pads are all well and good, but my preferred option is knee pads, and I found one. I had a little look earlier and I found some that I really want. They look really good. So I've not used these ones that I've linked today, but they look amazing and I really want them for Christmas. So I have a little cheap pair that I use all the time, knee pads, and they're just one of those little kind of quality of life improvements in the garden that just make life so much easier. These are good and a good gift idea, but I find I constantly misplace them, and then I just spend ages and ages looking around for where I've put these rather than actually getting the job done. The next one is probably the most recommended garden gift for people. I don't know what it is about it. People love it and always jump to it whenever you see gift recommendations. And that is the Japanese gardening knife, the Hori Hori. I have one and I do quite enjoy it. I don't have it with me today because it's for very specific jobs. But one thing I would say is that I think it's a fantastic tool for raised bed gardeners especially. It's not a great digging tool if you've got quite hard, stony soil. So do keep that in mind if you're trying to buy for someone or if you're thinking about getting one yourself. It's really not great at digging when you've got stones because it's got the kind of sharpened edge, you know. Next one, not particularly sexy. More like the part one kind of gifts, but a little bit more expensive. And that is a bulk bag of vermiculite or perlite. This is a bit of a weird one, right? But vermiculite and perlite are fantastic soil additives. So if you're making your own potting compost, they are just fantastic for extra drainage and water retention and a little bit of nutrient retention and that kind of thing. And quite often when you go to garden centres, you can buy them in a 10-litre bag. They cost about 10 or 15 quid. And if you go online, if you've got the space in your shed for a big bag, you can get 100 litres for about 30 quid. Last time I looked. So it's a fantastic addition for anyone who's kind of making their own potting compost, potting soil. If you've not tried it before, then maybe one to put on your Christmas list this year. Give it a go and see how it improves your soil texture. But it's just a good time of year to kind of put that one on your Christmas list while you remember. Number 15, we're getting there. This one, another classic that might be on most garden Christmas lists, and that is seed trays, but not just any seed trays, okay? These are the Rolls-Royce of seed trays, the container wise. And the reason that they are so fantastic is their kind of durability. See how there is no flex in this? They are rock solid. That is quite painful. These are another one where you just will never ever regret purchasing these. You can't really have too many of these, or if you do, it will become very obvious, and they're just brilliant. They last so long. They're gonna last absolutely years and years. They do come in all different kind of shapes and sizes, so maybe worth having a little conversation, or you know, just have a little think about which ones you want when you put them on your Christmas list. These are fantastic for things like beans. You can even put like chilies and tomatoes in here, you know, these massive cell ones, but all shapes and sizes, container-wise, just fantastic. Number 16, again, not the sexiest, but quite a cool kitchen appliance. And if, like me, you grow lots of chili peppers, then a dehydrator is almost a must. It is just a fantastic tool to have in your arsenal, and it's fantastic for drying all sorts of things. I use it mostly for chilies. I'm making chili powder and chili salt, but it's great for other kind of fruits. Lots of people dehydrate their fruits. Some people dehydrate tomato skins. It's a really good way of getting a little bit more food out of what you're growing. They're pretty cheap to run, and a little hack that I like to use sometimes is if I know we've got the heating on, you can just take a lot of I like the little circle ones, and you can take them off and just kind of prop them near a radiator, and all the air will flow through them and dry out your produce really well. Now, number 17, this is where it's getting sexy, folks, okay? And I'm gonna call this one, this is a bit of a cheat, but I'm gonna call this one the Grown Local selection, okay? So over at Grown Local, not only can you buy seeds with the 15% off at the moment, they also have a range of trays and other things to help you get growing. This Root Trainer Success Kit is just fantastic. It's one of the best things I've seen. Once again, just really hard wearing, rigid, so much better than some of the other flexible stuff that you can buy, which you're lucky if you get 1 or 2 seasons out of. This is about 12 quid, I think a little bit cheaper actually, 11, and it's just brilliant. So you can get a couple of these. And what else do they have? There is such a selection. You could make a whole video about this entry, but they've got propagators, the Super 7 propagator, fantastic. They've got the new chili grow. Tony C. Smith has just done a video on the chili grow, so I'll link that. And the quad grows as well, which I've done loads of videos on. I'll link one up here that you can see if you want to know a little bit more about the quad grows. But just fantastic kind of self-watering systems. They are brilliant presents, and I know because I've had some as gifts throughout kind of birthdays and Christmas. They are just fantastic. And I think now we're into part 3. We're into part 3, which is really the stuff for the special person in your life, you know, your dearly loved ones. And the first one is a tool recommendation, and that is generally for Wolfgarten tools. So look at this. This is maybe my favorite buy ever in the garden. This is the Wolfgarten Soil Miller. for anyone with an allotment, I think this is just fantastic. You can get through a bed in just record time. You know, quickly scarify the surface, get it ready for planting, get it to a fine tilth, this backhoe gets rid of any kind of clods of weeds. It is fantastic. And Wolf Garden kind of have this system where you kind of plug different ends into different handles, and this one, super lightweight, long handle, really, really useful. And then they have all sorts of little attachments. So maybe have a little think about getting a couple of these and kind of moving into the Wolf Garden systems. They are a little bit spendy, but they are really good quality. You know, it's a common problem at the moment in the garden. You buy a lot of tools, a lot of forks, and they just don't last. They're kind of cheap, and you break one bit and the whole thing needs to be replaced, you know. These are good. These are rock solid. Any of the Wolf Garden tools, really well reviewed, good, reliable reputation. Number 19, another kitchen appliance, and that is a blender, right? But not just any blender. This is a blender that I've been using for years, mostly for my hot sauces, and that is the Ninja. I think it's the 3-in-1, details below. But this is like the fantastic balance between reliable, high grade kind of performance, but also like consumer level pricing, you know, because the main competitor is something called a Vitamix, which is like, I think it's a Vitamix, which is like £400 to £600. You can get a Ninja for about 100, and they are fantastic. One recommendation, if you are using them to make chili sauces, buy an extra kind of cup or container, because you don't really want to have some of your family members making a smoothie after you've made chili sauce, because even if you wash it really well, sometimes you get a little bit of that chili essence left in. But the Ninja, one of the best things I've ever bought. I've made liters and liters and liters and liters of sauce in that thing, and it is really good quality. I use it mainly for chilies, but it's fantastic for tomato sauce as well. We made a lot of tomato sauces, and it's got this big pitcher, which is like 2 liters. So sometimes you still need to do batches, but you just kind of chuck it in, blend it up, pour it out, chuck more in. It's really good. And last, number 20, my kind of main biggest recommendation as a gift idea, and that has got to be the Autopot system. I've done a few videos this year charting my progress with the Autopots. I've been growing chilies in them specifically, and I could not believe the size of the plants that I managed to grow with these Autopots. I'm a pretty experienced chili grower. I still make mistakes, but I've been doing it for 4 years, and this is a standard pot, and the results I had from the Autopot have just absolutely blown me away. Now, the thing to know is that the Autopot is a bit of a luxury item. For the 4-pot system, you're looking at about £100, but that's not too crazy if you're giving this as the main kind of Christmas present. I think it's kind of doable, and it's super modular, so you could maybe start off with 2 and then add 2 next year and add 2 the year after. The Autopots have just blown me away. To be honest, I was not expecting them to be half as good as they are. And I know for a fact, if I got an Autopot system for Christmas, I would be very pleased. So that's it. That's 20 gift idea and recommendations. I do have a couple more just to kind of tack on at the end. These are things I don't have, but I've always had an eye on, and I've always thought, I think I would like that as a Christmas gift. And one of them is the Harrod Horticultural kind of crop frames. They've got loads of different styles, and I've always been tempted by their big P frames, right? They're quite pricey. They're kind of similar to that Autopot, main present type thing. But they do review really well, and I've always just kind of wanted them, because every year having to make up your kind of crop support structures can be a bit of a pain, to be honest. So one of those quite luxurious, but maybe make your garden life a bit easier present. And then the other one, the one that my mind immediately, when I first thought Christmas presents, it was just timber. Just buying someone timber so they can do the garden projects that they want. This one does require communication. You can't really just go out and buy a gardener a load of timber and the chances are it's not going to be the right size for projects they've got in mind or things that they want to build. But things like sleepers to build some massive big boy raised beds, or scaffolding boards like I've just made raised beds with, things to make your own custom kind of crop frames with, peas, beans, those kind of tall crops, sweet peas, that kind of stuff. I think most gardeners are gonna want some timber, maybe some shed repairs. There's just all sorts, I could go on and on and on. So maybe have a little think if there's any timber that you want for Christmas, or have a little ask if someone you're buying for, is there any little projects you've got in mind that some timber would come in useful? It's much more expensive than it used to be kind of 3 years ago. So quite a good little present idea, I think. But that is it. That is all of my Christmas ideas. If there's any that you think I've missed, please do let me know down in the comments below. I really hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope it gives you a little bit of inspiration. You can put a few things on your Christmas list or buy a few things for a loved one. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you again next time with an extra special thank you to all of my Chili Pepper tier patrons who make these videos possible. Tony, Bill, Pam, Louise, Mel, Michael, Denise, Socks in the Garden, and Andrew.